In a rare and extraordinarily bold move, Palestinians took to the streets of Gaza to openly protest against Hamas. Chants were heard like, quote, the people want to overthrow Hamas and Hamas are terrorists. Well, TBN Israel's Yair Pinto is here to break down what this dramatic scene in Gaza means. Yair, what can you tell us about these protests?
Well, I think this is like the best news that I've heard in a very, very long time. Hamas has been keeping the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip as hostages, basically using them as human shields, brainwashing the population for more than 20 years. And finally, we see them stand up and speak against this terrorist organization, saying, we had enough of war, we had enough of destruction. They had now 59 days of ceasefire after almost 500 days of war with Israel after Hamas launched the October 7th attacks against the Israelis. And they had enough. They just returned to their homes, those that were evacuated to safe zones in the southern part of Gaza, just returned to their homes in the north, and they found rubbles, piles and piles of rubbles. They saw Hamas is stealing all the humanitarian aid shipments that Israel allows to enter the Gaza Strip, and then they sell it to the Palestinian people at high prices because that's how Hamas makes its money. Everything is on the backs of the Palestinian people. And what I enjoyed watching is that finally you see the Gazan population saying, enough. We don't want Hamas anymore. We don't want Al Jazeera. They also said that, by the way. We don't want all of these hatred and all these terrorists leading us. We will decide who will govern the Gazan population in Gaza. It's really nice to see that, but just shortly after these demonstrations started, this is not the West. This is not like a country that allows freedom of ideas or freedom to demonstrate. Very, very fast after that, Hamas bullies with guns started to fire live ammunitions against these protesters to disperse the demonstrations and basically to try and prevent an uprising of the people of the Gazan population.
You made a really interesting point, and I read that too, that they were also shouting against Al Jazeera. Why were they doing that?
Well, Al Jazeera is a mouthpiece of Hamas, of Qatar, and they are basically spreading this ideology around the world, fueling the hatred against Israel, calling for these narratives that there can't be any coexistence between Israel and the Palestinians, and that the only way forward is violence, and basically spreading lies. You know, this war has been fought. We've seen it since basically very, very early after October 7th. This war has been fought on multiple fronts. You have the physical front with tanks, soldiers. You have the spiritual front, and then you have the front for the public's opinion. Okay, and the enemy is using deception, lies. Al Jazeera has been a vocal, anchor for lies and for spreading deceit all across the world. And they have reach, especially in the Arab world. The Palestinian people understand that, and they said, enough is enough. And I hope that more Palestinian people will join them, and that I would pray for safety for those Palestinians that are sick of Hamas and opening their mouth, because we know that Hamas do not tolerate anybody that speaks against them. They're not like a normal democratic country or a normal leadership that we see in the United States or in Europe. They basically, immediately after the election against the Palestinian authority, against Fatah, which are their brothers in the Gaza Strip, what they did, they pushed them off the rooftops. So they have no problems of killing their own people. They just want to stay in power and keep using them as human shields.
That's a really interesting perspective, which is I see that too. That words like propaganda and words like perspective and what is the truth. There's such a confusion, especially in the West, as to what's going on. And I get asked all the time, "Well, why don't you have so and so on or so and so on?" I say honestly, I have so many Palestinian friends. I'm not exaggerating, that are scared to talk for their own safety and their family's safety. And so I think you have a unique perspective, Yair, as a messianic believer who served in the IDF in Gaza. What things can you help us clear up? What propaganda, what misinformation have you seen firsthand that is important for an international audience to understand?
Okay, let me start in the beginning. What would you do? That's what I will say to anybody who's basically judging Israel for carrying out a war against the Gaza Strip, against Hamas. What would you do if terrorists would come into your neighborhood, okay, kill 2,000 people, murder them, also film it on video cameras and then show it live on social media platforms, call your mothers and say, look what I did, I'm so proud of myself, and then kidnap 250 people of your city, okay? What would you do? Wouldn't you want your government to send the military in and basically destroy these terrorists and then retrieve the hostages? Just think about it. This is what Israel is doing. This is what we're doing. And on top of that, we were on an existential threat because the terrorist came from Gaza. Hezbollah is threatening to launch thousands of missiles at us from the north. And then Iran is threatening us. And now, the Houthis also joined the party. In total, 7 fronts were attacking Israel at once, okay? I have a job, I have a wife, I have 3 kids. On the morning of October 7, I had to leave everything, put on my uniform, and go to defend my country, okay? I don't want to fight Palestinians and give them a hard time in their lives. I have no problem with Palestinians. I'm really sad for the suffering that they are going through, and they are going through suffering. But it's not because of us. It's because of Hamas. It's because of Iran. It's because of this evil ideology that their kids have been taught in school systems in the Gaza Strip for 20 years. Okay, another point that's important to understand, Hamas is not just a terrorist organization. Hamas was elected to govern in the Gaza Strip. Hamas is in charge of education, in charge of health, in charge of all the hospital, in charge of all the money, the finance ministry. So basically the entire Gaza Strip is a country of terror that is governed by the Hamas terrorist organization, okay? So this is who leads these people. So what do you expect? That they will like us? They've been taught and brainwashed from a very, very young age that Israelis are monsters. They are the enemy. The only way for the future is to kill them, destroy them, and capture all of this country. They don't want two-state solution. It's on the charter of Hamas to destroy Israel. It's nothing, no secret here. But yet, when I was in the Gaza Strip, what the IDF did is to let the Palestinian civilian people know from this area, you launched rockets at us. Hamas launched rockets at us. Now we have to go in and destroy the Hamas terrorists, okay? But we still call on you to move to a safe zone. Use this route. We will protect you while you go to this safe zone. This is what the IDF did, endangering our own soldiers while trying to protect the civilian population of the Gaza Strip. Okay, and this is repeated again and again. And only a few days ago, the IDF spokesperson in Arabic told the civilian population in Beit Lahia, which is an area in Gaza, to evacuate because 3 missiles were launched from there towards Tel Aviv. Okay, so what army tells the enemies, we are coming in, move the civilians out before we come in. Okay, and this is just, the tip of the iceberg.
You've already kind of mentioned this, but in closing, do you see this as an encouraging, hopeful sign, or as something that'll be quickly snuffed out by Hamas?
I think it's an encouraging, hopeful sign because it proves that Hamas is losing its grip on the population. Okay? In the past, this would never happen. No Palestinian civilian would dare to say something like this against Hamas because they were afraid. Now that Israel resumed the offensive, the Hamas terrorists are the ones that are hiding. Where are they hiding? Same place they hide every time. In hospitals, in underground bunkers and tunnels, underneath mosques, underneath schools. places that they know that the IDF will think twice before carrying out an attack. And we do, and that's what we did in Gaza. You think a million times before launching an attack against a place that you know that the terrorists are located for fear of harming uninvolved civilians. The IDF is super humane. I don't know if I know any other humane military in the world at this level. This is the situation. So,
Yair, my brother, toda rabah, stay safe, and God bless.
Thank you so much.